Optimal rural locations along I-10, I-20, and I-40 corridors. While a dynamic, interactive map is beyond the scope of this report, we can identify key characteristics and provide examples of rural areas along the I-10, 1-20, and I-40 corridors that are strategically beneficial for the proposed transcontinental tiny home ecosystem. These locations are selected based on their potential to support optimal EV charging, e-commerce, logistics, EV tow operations, and integrated accommodations. Criteria for optimal rural locations: EV charging infrastructure. Areas with existing or planned EV charging networks, particularly those benefiting from federal or state incentives to bridge the rural charging divide. Proximity to major freight routes is also key for EV trucking. EV-to-L hub potential. Locations with small, underutilized regional airports or heliports that can be retrofitted or expanded into vertiports, revitalizing local economies through advanced air mobility. E-commerce, logistics, and sales. Rural areas near interstate exits with available land suitable for mixed-use development, capable of supporting localized fulfillment centers and retail operations for the everything under the sun superstore. Accommodation and tourism. Regions with existing or developing tourism infrastructure, natural attractions, and a demand for unique accommodation options like tiny homes, potentially leveraging platforms like Airbnb. Grid capacity and renewable energy potential. Areas with transparent grid hosting capacity data and strong solar wind resources, supported by state-level renewable energy incentives, tiny home-friendly regulations, and economic opportunity zones. States and localities with supportive zoning laws for tiny homes and designated opportunity zones to attract investment. Strategic rural locations by corridor. Locations by corridor. Southern Tier I-10 corridor, stretching from California to Florida, offers significant potential, particularly in its western and southern segments. Arizona. La Paz County, Arizona, is a prime example, hosting a large Tesla supercharger station directly off I-10, demonstrating existing high-capacity EV infrastructure in a rural setting. Arizona generally has favorable solar incentives and is considered tiny home-friendly. Rural areas near I-10 in Arizona also show potential for industrial and commercial development. Texas. The I-10 corridor in Texas, particularly near offers large tracts of undeveloped land with emerging development opportunities near interstate access points. Texas is highly tiny home-friendly due to its lack of statewide zoning laws and has numerous opportunity zones. An EV trucking coalition is planning charging hubs along 1-10 in Texas by 2027. Florida. Florida is also a tiny home-friendly state, with movable tiny home legislation and offers solar incentives. Rural areas in Florida, such as Manatee County, have agricultural or rural zoning that could be adapted for sustainable communities. Interstate 20 I-20 corridor, Central Southern Tier I-20 corridor, connecting Texas to South Carolina pass through regions with significant rural development potential. Texas. The I-20 corridor in Texas, particularly the West Odessa area, is projected for substantial population growth, indicating economic dynamism. This area, like other parts of Texas, benefits from favorable tiny home regulations and numerous opportunity zones. The I-20 Corridor Council is actively working to re-establish passenger rail service, which could further enhance connectivity. For rural communities along the route to Louisiana, rural land is available near I-10 and I-20 in Louisiana, with some parcels offering significant acreage suitable for development. Caddo Parish, for instance, has rural agricultural zoning that permits single-family residences compatible with agricultural operations. Mississippi. Mississippi is noted as the most affordable state to buy a tiny home and has a notable number of opportunity zones. Georgia. Georgia is ranked as a top state for tiny home living and has numerous regional airports that could be assessed for EV-tool readiness. DeKalb County, along I-20, has commercial and industrial zoning that could support mixed-use development. Interstate 40, I-40 corridor, Central Tier. The I-40 corridor, spanning from California to North Carolina, offers diverse rural landscapes with potential for sustainable development. California. California is a tiny home-friendly state with widely permitted accessory dwelling units. It also has robust solar incentives. Arizona. Similar to I-10, Arizona's I-40 segments offer opportunities for tiny home communities and EV charging infrastructure. Holbrook and Kingman, for example, have Tesla superchargers directly on I-40. New Mexico. The New Mexico Department of Transportation is expanding its fiber optic network along the I-40 corridor, improving digital connectivity. An EV charging station is planned near I-40 Exit 39 Refinery. New Mexico also has opportunity zones and is considered tiny home friendly. Rural land is available, though average prices can be higher. Oklahoma. Oklahoma has ambitious plans for advanced air mobility, including retrofitting existing regional airports and constructing new vertiports by 2045. With cargo revenues projected along I-40, Oklahoma is also a tiny home friendly state. Rural land near I-40 in Oklahoma, such as near Warner, offers potential building sites. Tennessee is a tiny home-friendly state with significant rural land availability near major highways. It also has existing tourism and accommodation opportunities, particularly around the Smoky Mountains and various lakes, making it suitable for Airbnb integration. The state is actively building out its EV fast-charging network on highway corridors to connect rural and urban areas. These identified areas along the I-10, 1-20 and I-40 corridors represent strategic nodes for the development of the transcontinental tiny home ecosystem. Their existing or planned infrastructure, combined with favorable regulatory environments and economic development potential, makes them ideal candidates for integrating advanced sustainable energy, mobility, e-commerce, and accommodation solutions. In conclusions, the establishment of a transcontinental network of our affordable tiny home communities, integrated with advanced energy and mobility solutions and a novel retail model, presents a transformative vision for future living. The analysis confirms the feasibility and immense potential of such an ecosystem, provided a holistic and strategic approach is adopted across multiple domains. The core strength of this vision lies in the inherent efficiencies and community potential of tiny homes, which serve as a catalyst for broader sustainable development. Their small footprint naturally promotes resource conservation, while their affordability can be perpetually maintained through innovative financial structures, like community land trusts, the integration of on-site renewable energy generation, robust battery storage, and intelligent microgrids is not merely an efficiency measure but a fundamental enabler of community self-sufficiency and resilience. Capable of supporting diverse residential and transportation loads, the widespread adoption of electric mobility, from EVs to eVTOLs, e-motorhomes, e-motorcycles, and electric boats, requires a flexible and scalable charging infrastructure. This necessitates leveraging smart grid technologies, AI-driven load balancing, and strategic siting, particularly in rural areas where existing infrastructure gaps exist. eVTOLs in particular offer a unique opportunity to revitalize rural airports and enhance inter-community connectivity, bridging geographical distances and fostering economic growth in underserved regions. The Everything Under the Sun Superstore, with its hybrid retail model and commitment to local sourcing, is designed to be a powerful economic engine for these communities. By prioritizing local suppliers and integrating fulfillment operations, it can foster a circular economy, create local jobs, and enhance the economic resilience of the entire network. Crucially, the long-term success of this ecosystem hinges on a continuous pipeline of skilled individuals. Comprehensive sustainable energy STEM education, coupled with hands-on community-led workshops and formal apprenticeships, will cultivate the necessary workforce and foster a deep understanding of sustainable practices among residents. To realize this ambitious transcontinental vision, the following recommendations are put forth. Develop a multi-layered financial strategy. Secure diverse funding streams by combining federal grants, for example, USDA rural development programs, state incentives, for example, California's HSC, Colorado's innovative housing, private capital attracted through economic opportunity zones, and philanthropic investments. Prioritize the establishment and expansion of community land trusts (CLTs) to ensure perpetual affordability and community ownership of land. Champion progressive regulatory frameworks. Engage proactively with state and local governments in tiny, home-friendly states along the I-10, I-20, and I-40 corridors to advocate for supportive zoning laws, building codes, for example, IRC Appendix Q adoption, and streamlined permitting processes. Address specific regulatory hurdles for advanced water and waste management systems to enable true self-sufficiency. Invest in integrated smart microgrids. Design and implement community microgrids as the central energy backbone for each tiny home community. These microgrids must integrate diverse renewable energy sources, solar, wind, etc., with robust battery storage, for example, Tesla megapacks, and intelligent energy management systems capable of dynamic load balancing for residential needs and varied electric transportation loads, EV2Ls, e-motocross, boating, aircraft. Establish strategic mobility hubs to develop a distributed network of charging and vertiport hubs along the interstate corridors and near natural features. Leverage federal and state incentives, for example, NEVI credit programs to overcome the rural charging divide for EVs. Utilizing existing networks like Tesla. Prioritize the revitalization of small, rural airports as eVTOL vertiports, integrating their high-power charging needs into community microgrids. Cultivate a localized circular economy. Design the Everything Under the Sun Superstore as a hybrid retail model that prioritizes local sourcing of goods and services from within the tiny home communities and surrounding regions. Develop a decentralized logistics and supply chain network that leverages community proximity for efficient last-mile delivery. thereby strengthening local economies and reducing environmental impact. Implement comprehensive education and workforce development programs. Establish sustainable energy STEM education programs from early childhood through vocational training, utilizing living lab models that embed learning in real-world community projects. Develop and scale community-led workshops and formal apprenticeships in sustainable building, clean energy installation, and advanced mobility maintenance to ensure a skilled and self-sufficient workforce within the network. Ensure robust digital connectivity. Prioritize the deployment of high-speed internet infrastructure, including fiber optics and satellite solutions like Starlink, to bridge the rural data deficit and enable smart community functions, remote work, and e-commerce operations across the transcontinental network. By systematically addressing these interconnected components, the transcontinental sustainable tiny home ecosystem can evolve from a visionary concept into a tangible reality, offering a blueprint for resilient, affordable, and environmentally conscious living across the nation.